Our next guest is in the studio. Let's bring him in. We got Alfred from Listen Labs announcing, and we got his co-founder. Welcome.
Boom. And they got the jackets. They're not quite
color coordinated. I love it.
Coordinated.
Dressing up for the show. We always appreciate when people dress up when they coordinate their outfits.
How
you guys doing?
Doing well, yeah. Exciting.
Can you give us a little overview of the history of the company? Introduce yourselves. Tell us about the round. Give us the basics.
For sure. So Listen is an AI customer researcher that can find and interview thousands of users and tell you what they want. And yesterday we announced our Series A and 27 million in total raised, led by Sequoia, Conviction, and Pair. Mm-hmm. And we work with some amazing customers like Microsoft, Canva, and Chubbies. Mm-hmm. And the core concept of what we do is like every company wants to be customer obsessed. So imagine you want to take that to the most fullest extent. And that's basically you would talk to every customer you could, and you talk to them, try to understand exactly who they are and what they think about. And you'd find a way to synthesize all of those conversations into a clear understanding of their behavior. And you wouldn't do this just once, you do it all the time. Every time you make a change to your product or service or marketing. And that's what we do.
Cool. I can imagine a ton of different ways to get customer insights out of all the data. Just using Microsoft as an example, like there's probably 1 million tickets in some database that's just a bunch of text that hasn't been processed. You run an LLM over that. That makes sense. It sounds like you're doing something more advanced where you're actually calling people up. Maybe there's a screen recording and interaction and some questions back and forth. Is that all AI driven? Walk me through the case study, I guess, with Microsoft or anyone else you want to chat about.
Yeah, for sure. So it's an AI that can have a one-on-one conversation, and then it can have hundreds of those conversations in parallel. Mm-hmm. And what we found is that you have to reach enough people to really understand what people want. So if you speak to 10 of them, most of them won't have much interesting things to say. And the second thing is the synthesis. If you have hundreds of conversations, finding the signal over the noise is AI is amazing at that.
Sure.
And AI is also the ultimate listener. It's more empathetic than myself. And as a case study, one of my favorite ones is Chubbies. So they recently launched a new product based on learnings that they made from Listen that is growing really, really fast. And it's a little bit weird, but it was an AI or it was interviewing kids using Listen.
Interesting.
And they were much more honest to our AI versus speaking to a stranger. And it enabled them to learn a lot about how to make their shorts more comfortable, and basically created a new product with a new liner in the shorts that just felt much better for the kids. And now that product is growing really fast.
Do you believe there's sort of a customer love flywheel in a sense, where the more someone likes a product, the more inclined they are to want to talk about how to make it better? And is part of what you guys are doing helping to accelerate that, where a product could have some customers, but it's hard to really get scaled feedback because nobody really loves the product enough? I get emails all the time. I'll try a SaaS product and I'll churn, and then they'll reach out to me being like, hey, can we get feedback? And usually I'm not super inclined to provide feedback. Sometimes I do if I feel like it's just off. But how do you think about sort of building that sort of customer feedback flywheel and converting it into customer love?
Yeah, I mean, I think what is interesting is we have this at bigger companies, right? What you actually you have a lot of feedback, as you said before, but actually talking to real customers is actually pretty complex, right? It's at the bigger companies, they typically outsource it to external agencies because there's a lot of hoops they have to go through. And, they charge 100K and then they schedule 20 interviews and do that. And, what we enable them to do is, instead of using these external agencies, they can just use us, right? It's cheaper, it's faster, it's better because you can reach way more people. And I think that's an exciting opportunity also for in general for AI founders to if you can replace one of those external external partners.
Yeah.
Basically, you just flip a switch and you sell an outcome instead of just the software.
When you talk to maybe bigger, older companies, are you surprised at how they sometimes don't have a process in place to talk to customers? Like, I feel like it's part of Silicon Valley, like ethos, lore, PG is just sort of like banging, founders over the head saying like, talk to your customers, talk to your customers.
Talk to customers.
And so it's a part of the culture here. But I imagine there's some companies that you're maybe in a sales process with that don't have any infrastructure or very little infrastructure in place relative to how sort of like scaled they are.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the products and services out there are kind of they suck, and it's so often that you use a product and you think like, okay, what were they even thinking? Like, clearly they're not keeping us in mind here. And for some of these large companies, they do want to invest in talking to users, but it's just so complex because there's a lot of bureaucracy even to reach out to a user. You kind of have to go through legal and it becomes too complicated. And that's why they have to use these consulting firms to kind of go through it. But we've been able to kind of streamline that process.
Can you talk about how these interviews happen today and how they'll evolve? I can imagine chatbot interaction to begin with, but at the voice interfaces are pretty close. Virtual avatars are getting pretty close. What's the product like today? Where do you see it going?
Yeah, so Florian and I, we actually started a company by virtue of trying to solve the problem for ourselves, and we had this AI consumer app that had 20,000 downloads in one day, and it really blew up out of nowhere. We were running with expensive GPUs, spending like $1,000 per hour, and it was our personal credit cards attached, and like the users were churning really fast. And so we were like, okay, how do we actually solve this problem? And then we built a very simple prototype. It was a chatbot that could just talk to all the users and summarize what they wanted. And we found things that were really useful, like which template should we add? How should we fix our onboarding? And now we have built out this kind of entire stack where it's essentially 3 steps. It's first interviewing, and we do that over video, and have like the video understanding both of the emotional experience and what they do on the screen. And then it's finding the people. So we actually allow you to kind of find all the customers through a database of millions of users. And then, of course, analysis. And the ceiling for analysis is really high. You can hire McKinsey and they'll charge you $1 million to give a PowerPoint deck. And we're working on that.
That makes a ton of sense. What are some kind of edge cases or companies that you would expect to start using Listen that maybe are non-traditional? Like my immediate thought is that we should throw up basically a number that you can just call and give feedback on the show, which, we're live 15 hours a week. So it's hard to find time for phone calls, but it would be awesome if people could call in and be like, hey, talk more about this or, things like that. But, do you see this type of user research expanding into industries that maybe just aren't customers of these different consulting firms today just because of the costs?
Yeah, exactly. I think there's a huge new market you can open up for smaller companies or companies that couldn't traditionally afford or couldn't even honestly wait for 12 weeks until you get this report back. So I think that's very exciting. But if you take a step back and think about what makes a great company, and you can even go back to YC of what they think is you mentioned it before, right? Write code and talk to users, and that's really the core. But those 2 parts, we have the writing the code, which now AI agents are doing more and more. It's getting easier to build things. So what becomes more important is actually building the right thing and kind of having the feedback, talking to the customers. So that's what we're building, and it's almost scary, but maybe in the future, that's what we're going to do. That's maybe the last thing that humans will do, kind of telling the AI what to do, what to build, being the tastemakers,
which podcast to listen to.
Yeah, just wire it
Okay,
directly
good.
into Cursor or Devin, and then it just takes the feedback and immediately implements the change. And
No,
and
it
then
is.
can step
It
back.
is an interesting scenario to think about
Yeah.
where Listen is directly integrated into the
agent.
basically
The programming
developer
agent.
tools,
Yeah.
where somebody can say like, "Hey, I want a feature to do this," and then it just immediately
Does it.
gets built. So
Yeah, pretty awesome.
I'm sure you guys are thinking about stuff
on
like that.
on the post interview analysis side, I can imagine that AI is very good at aggregating sentiment and tagging things, essentially creating like the top 10 requests, the word clouds. But have you found LLMs or any of the modern AI tooling being useful in finding like the diamonds in the rough? Like everyone's telling you to build a faster horse. There's one person who's clocked it and says, no, you got to go into the automobile for your product. And you're able to dig that out with modern technology.
Yeah, so we have like a module that finds surprising statements and outliers sentiment.
That's cool.
And I think there's also interesting things around kind of building a profile of understanding who this user is and if they give good advice or not. And we actually have like a quality score of each participant. So you shouldn't listen to all feedback. And as we've done more interviews, we've done now more than 300,000, we can kind of build a elite set of tastemakers essentially that you can reach out to that tend to give like great advice.
That makes sense. How did the round come together? Obviously, got basically the who's who of venture in. Was anything surprising? Was it did you guys go out to run a process, or did people come to you?
Well, it's a very competitive fundraising market for the VCs today. But we're very lucky to work with exceptional partners. And Brian Schreier at Sequoia, he also led the first investment in Qualtrics, which is the biggest outcome in the customer feedback world. And then it's amazing working with Mike Vernal at Conviction, who's done the best deals.
When Listen has as big an outcome as Qualtrics, what pro sports team are you guys gonna buy?
Yeah, I actually I'm from Sweden. I spoke to Ryan Smith at Qualtrics, and the first thing he said, like, "Oh yeah, I just bought a hockey team. You guys love hockey, right?" So maybe I think table tennis. That would be
table tennis.
Table tennis. Yeah, what is the most popular sport in Sweden right now?
Yeah, maybe chess boxing. No, table tennis. I don't know.
Table tennis.
Table tennis.
It is very popular. We went. We almost won the Olympics.
Very
China.
Cool. Well,
there you go.
Yeah. Oh, that's rough.
It happens.
It happens.
Awesome, guys. Well, congratulations.
Congratulations.
Very exciting. And let us know when it's ready for podcasting.
Yes.
We'll
roll it out for sure.
We'll roll it out.
Amazing.
Take care.
We'll talk to you soon.
See you.
Bye.
Bye.
See ya.